So we were revising what we studied yesterday. We will revise it a bit. Okay. Screen mirroring on. Now it's fine. So what we discussed yesterday was the average in perfectly competitive market, what impact we have on the average revenue and the marginal revenue, and in an imperfect market, the impact that it brings on the average revenue and the marginal revenue. So what happens in a perfectly competitive market? Perfectly competitive market, the goods are homogeneous. Since the goods are homogeneous, the price is not determined by the demand and supply of the market or the buyers and sellers in the market. And since the goods are homogeneous, the price is constant. So what happens? Average revenue is equal to the marginal revenue, what we saw here. Revenue curves under different market. What we saw is that average revenue is equal to marginal revenue in a perfectly competitive market. And in all market, what happens is that average revenue is equal to the price, right? What we saw down here. The price is always equal to the average revenue in all markets, right? Right? And second thing what we saw, in an imperfect market where the price is determined by the demand and supply or the buyers or sellers, and the goods are not homogeneous, goods are different, the price will not be the same. So as the output increases, the price will decrease. And what happens? Since the price is here also, what will happen? Average revenue will be equal to the price, right? In all markets, what we saw. And what we saw is that as the output increases, price is decreasing, average revenue and marginal revenue are also decreasing. Why? Because the price is decreases. So the average revenue and marginal revenue are decreasing. What we saw in this figure 1.41. Marginal revenue is also sloping downwards and average revenue is also sloping downwards. Clear on this? Now we will move to means of production. So, what are the means of production or the factors required for the production of goods, for converting raw material into finished goods? What we saw previously is that we require land, labor, capital and organization or an entrepreneur to convert raw material into finished goods. These are only the means of production. So what are the means of production? That the inputs that we bring in to convert raw material into finished goods are the means of production. These means of production help in deriving the output. So see, they have given. In a modern production system, usually there are 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital and organization. So, there is one theory which is given here according to Marx. So what Marx is saying is that labor is a very important factor of production. Why? See, if we have land, we have capital and we have an organization and the machinery required, everything we have to convert raw material into finished goods. But we don't have the labor. So all other factors cannot work or cannot convert raw material into finished goods unless there is labor. And there is one theory of labor which Marx is saying here is that आय एम नॉट एबल टू राईट. एक मिनिट, आपण परत करूयात, काहीतरी इश्यू येतो. स्क्रीन मिररिंग तर चालू आहे. परत करते मी, स्टॉप मिररिंग करून परत मिरर करते. आता दिसतंय. थोडं टेक्निकल रिस्पॉन्ड नाही करत टॅब लवकर. एक मिनिट, आपण OBS मध्ये बघूयात. दिसतंय. नॉट एबल टू राईट. प्रोजेक्टर का वर्क नाही करत आहे? इथे तर दिसतंय आपल्याला, ह्याच्यामध्ये OBS मध्ये दिसतंय, यूट्यूबवर पण दिसतंय आणि टीम्सवर पण दिसतच असेल. दिसतंय. प्रोजेक्टरवर का नाही दिसत आहे? लाईट टॅब पण इश्यू होतो. जाऊ दे, आपण ओरलीज घेऊयात, लिहित नाही काही, ह्याच्यावर दिसेलच आपल्याला. सो अकॉर्डिंग टू दिस थिअरी, what they are saying is that what is the value of labor? The value of labor is the additional output that we are getting minus the use of other materials that we are doing. So other than labor, what we are employing, that is land, capital and organization. So after deducting this from the additional value of the output, what we will get? The value of labor. So this is what the theory which is Marx is saying. See, if we deduct the other outputs, naturally we will get the value of labor, right, from the total output that we are getting. If we have 4: land, labor, capital and organization. If we just want what? Labor. From the total output, we deduct the other resources that we have, the value of other resources like land, organization, capital, then we get the value of labor. From what? Not the total output, from the additional output that we are getting. See here. According to this theory, the value of labor should be equal to the additional value of output after deducting the uses of other materials. But this surplus value is actually apportioned by the owner of production. See, who is getting this value? Ultimately, the owner who is converting the raw material into finished goods, selling them. The entrepreneur or the organization will get that value. So this is what Marx is saying is exploitation of labor. Actual value of labor, the labor is not getting that much value. Most of the value is taken by the owner or the producer. This is well known as labor exploitation. According to Marx, the exploited persons are called proletarians. Now we will move on. Ownership of means of production. So there are 3 forms of परत सांगू, means of production are what? Land, labor, capital and organization. Without these means of production, we cannot convert raw material into finished goods, right? So out of these means of production, what is labor is a very important factor. Even though if we have other factors of production, without labor, we will not be able to convert that raw material into finished goods. And what Marx is saying here is that the value of labor is what? The value of additional output minus the value of other resources used. Other resources, what? Other means of production used. So that is what? Land, capital and organization. When we minus these from the additional output we get the value of labor. So naturally, what is the how much is the value of labor? That much we should pay to the laborer. But what is happening, most of the value is taken by the owner of the production, the person who is producing the goods, the organization. So what is happening, the laborers are getting exploited. Clear now? What is your name? Kunal. Clear? Okay. टैब का काम नहीं करत आज, लिहिता नाही येत. So there are ownership of means of production. So what type of economies you know, Kunal? Capitalistic, socialistic and mixed. So capitalistic economies, what happens is that the owner of the resources, the organization is mostly is completely with the private owners. So what these private people will do? They will focus on maximizing the profit. They will not much think for the welfare of the nation, right? So in capitalistic economies, all are mostly private owners. Their main motive is profit maximization. Social welfare is less, government intervention is less, the price is determined by the market only, government will not interfere, market forces, and they will only determine the price. So this is what happens in capitalistic economy. So what type of countries we can see in a capitalistic economy? USA, right? Other European countries where we can see the government is less concerned or about social welfare. Mostly private owners are sole responsible and their main motive is profit maximization. So what is happening? There is less intervention of the government there. So what we can see in USA or other European countries, the unemployment rate is high, right? The inequality of income is high. There are very poor people, there are very rich people, because the government intervention is not at all, and their motive is profit maximization, not welfare. So the level of income distribution is very high. Very poor people, very rich people. Clear on capitalistic economy? USA or other European countries, France, Germany. USA is the main. Because that's why, because of that capitalism only, there are problems in these countries, like unemployment rate is high there. And other problems like inequality of income is also high there. Very rich people are there in USA and some people are very poor in USA. They cannot afford basic needs also. USA and other European countries we can say are examples of capitalistic economy. Socialistic is the reverse of, completely reverse of capitalistic. In capitalistic we had all our private owners, right? Privately owned. Here mostly it is government owned. So what the government will do? It will work for the welfare of the people, the welfare of the nation. It will implement initiatives for the welfare of the nation. It will keep prices of necessary goods low, right? So that people can afford them. Inequality of income will be low, right? Income distribution very high, very poor people and very rich people, what we saw in capitalistic economy or USA and other European countries, inequality of income was very high. But in socialistic, due to government welfare, the inequality of income will be low. So where we can see like Cuba, North Korea, these are the countries where what happens is that socialistic prevails. Government initiatives are more for the welfare of the people. So both, what do you think? Is capitalistic good or socialistic good? What do you think? Complete government, complete private? Both the economies have its pros and cons. Right? If we give it to completely to the government, profit maximization and other things, the economy will not grow much, right? Because the main motive will not be profit maximization. And here, if the economy is completely capitalistic, what will happen? Only profit maximization, no welfare. Again, the growth is not there much. Both are not. So, what is a combination of both the capitalistic and the mixed economy? Capitalistic and the socialistic economy is a mixed economy where we have both the private owners as well as the government owned firms. So what happens? There is a private owners have their own motive of profit maximization. Government will have its own motive of welfare of the nation. Both these type of organizations will prevail in the mixed economy. So inequality of income also at a certain level it will be there, but not that much. But it is a good type of economy. See, mixed economy is what? We are promoting welfare of the nation also by profit maximization, because out of that profit ultimately the government will get tax, right? Even the motive is profit maximization. Out of that profit the government will get some revenue. So there also we just don't want the income, but we want the welfare of the nation also, right? So another socialistic government initiatives will help in the welfare of the nation. So both, there is a welfare of the nation as well as the growth of the nation. So these two plus points make mixed economy what we can say a good type of economy where the promotion of both welfare as well as profit is there. So which are these types of economies? India is a good example of mixed economy. Russia is also a good example. Bangladesh is also a good example, right? We'll read this now. See what they have seen here. Ownership of means of production. There are usually three forms of economic system: capitalistic, socialistic and mixed. Under the capitalistic system, only private investors or business houses control the system on the basis of market rule. There is no need of the government sector in the economic and business sectors. Capitalism is defined as private ownership and control over the means of production, where the surplus product becomes a source of unearned income for its owners. Under this system, profit-seeking individuals or organizations undertake a majority of economic activities. See what we discussed: capitalistic, mostly private investors, private owned organizations, main motive is profit maximization, no government intervention. And the price will also be determined by themselves. The government will not get much intervention. In the market for goods, there are demanders and suppliers who interact with each other. If the market power is equal to the supply power, then there will be equilibrium in the market, which will lead to the determination of stable price of the goods. See, the market will only determine the price of the goods. If the demand supply are unequal, what we saw, if the demand is more, supply is less, what will happen? Price will increase, right? Similarly, that case only happens in a capitalistic economy. See, what they are saying, on the other hand, if there are unequal circumstances between the demand power and supply power, there will be disequilibrium in the market and no unique price will be determined. There we see huge inequality of income and wealth distribution. What we saw, right, Kunal? What we saw in capitalistic economy, there is huge inequality of income or wealth distribution. What we discussed. Today we can find any such country which are purely capitalistic. However, the countries with high degree of capitalism are countries from Western Europe and USA. Under the socialistic nature, what happens? Complete reverse, Kunal, right? We are completely reverse of capitalistic. What we discussed? Complete government initiatives, complete government, own firms, welfare of the nation, less, very low inequality of income, right? And which are these types of countries? Cuba, and what we discussed? So we'll read this, see. Under the socialistic nature, the reverse to the capitalistic system occurs. Here, government or public system works without any sort of private or capitalistic firms and market mechanism. Here, the income and wealth of the country is of the common people or public. Socialism is a populist economic and political system based on public ownership of means of production. Those means include the machinery, tools and factories used to produce the goods that aim to directly satisfy human needs. What is Karl saying here? According to Karl Marx, capitalistic society is made up of two classes. The bourgeois or the business owners who control the means of production, and the proletariat or worker whose labor transforms raw commodities into valuable economic goods. See, again in the capitalistic economy, there are two types, owners and the laborers. But what happens usually in a capitalistic economy, there is no government intervention or government cannot intervene much. So what happens? The main motive is profit maximum. So again the laborers might get exploited, they might get less wages, they might not get proper wages which required, right? Because government intervention is less. So they again in a capitalistic economy they might get exploited. Here usually no or very low level of income and wealth inequalities are observed. We are talking about socialistic economy now. In what happens in the socialistic economy? The inequality of income or wealth is low compared to capital. In a capitalistic economy, the inequality of income or wealth distribution is high. In the modern world, there is very hard to find such countries having pure socialistic nature. However, the countries like Cuba, North Korea, China do follow high levels of socialistic distribution of income and wealth of the countries. Now what we discussed? Now finally the mixed economy, combination of both capitalistic and socialistic. Finally, in the mixed economic system, we find the combinations of capitalistic market economies and socialistic economies. Here, some form of private initiatives and government initiatives are found side by side. In the world today, many countries are there who follow mixed type of economic system. For example, India, Russia, Bangladesh are such countries. Now what they are saying again? The means of production can be owned by different people in different ways in different societies. Capitalism is what? Means of production are owned privately, right? Next, socialism mostly government and mixed both by the government as well as the private, right Kunal? Capitalism is when the means of production are owned privately. A capitalistic society has a market and its rule where things can be sold and bought at the market determined prices. What we discussed Kunal, right? The government will not interfere and the prices were determined by the market in the capitalistic economy. Capitalism also has wage labor or labor paid in wages. On the other hand, other societies can be purely socialistic, meaning the means of production owned in common either by the workers themselves or by the state. Socialistic, by the state or the government, the means of production will be owned, right? But in case of mixed economies, by both government and private people, private owners. But in case of mixed nature of the economies, the ownership of the means of production are shared by both the state or the government and the private business houses. Now, what will be the mode of production? What we were discussing, Kunal, how to produce, how we will produce. either by a labor intensive technique or a capital intensive technique? What we were discussing previously, how to produce, either we will produce by using a capital intensive technique or a labor intensive technique. How we will decide it? If the capital is cheap, we will use capital intensive technique, and if the labor is cheap, we will use labor intensive technique. Right? So what they are saying, relation of production. This is that included in it. See, capitalistic will have relation to what? Means of production. Mean in the capitalistic it will be privately owned, in the socialistic it will be government owned, and in the mixed it will be both government as well as the private. Capital as a produced means of production. What we were discussing previously was, if we have land, labor, capital and organization, if the owner does not have capital, all other factors will also prove, because without capital he cannot buy that raw material, without capital he cannot purchase the machinery, without capital he cannot pay the laborer's salary, right? Right, Kunal? So if the capital is not there with the owner of the producer, it will become a great problem again, right? So what he is saying, capital is the produced means of production. Means of production, it is produced by the owner. Kunal, you got it? What I was saying? Capital. So without capital, will the owner be able to purchase the raw material? Will he be able to pay the salary of the laborers? Without that, will he be able to pay the rent of the land which he is using for production? Okay. So they are saying capital is a produced means of production. And again with capital, what we can do? We can do research and development also, right? Without capital, we cannot do research and development. Another, with capital, we can improve the technology. If the technology will improve, what will happen? Again, the amount of production will increase, right? What we saw in the PPC curve, with the same amount of scarce resources, if the PPC curve shifts towards right, there is an economic growth. Why there is an economic growth? With the same amount of resources, we are producing more. Output is increasing. So there is an economic growth. So why does it happen? Due to technological advancements. Capital as a produced means of production. Capital is an important factor of production. Further, to gain productivity, improved version of capital is required. By raising productivity through improved capital equipment, more goods can be produced and standard of living can be risen. See, what we discussed, more goods can be produced with that capital. If we change the technology, if we improve our technology, what will happen? With the same, that much only raw material, we will produce more output. With the same amount of input, we will produce more output. Output will increase. So what will happen? In turn, productivity will increase. And what will happen? Standard of living will increase. Capital goods are also sometimes referred to as the means of production because these physical and non-physical inputs create objects that can be eventually be bestowed with economic value. According to Bohum Bawerk, a follower of Marx, stated that capital is the produced means of production. Capital is already a produced means as other factors of production are used to produce capital in an economy. Now we will see mode of production. So what is the mode of production we were discussing previously? Labor intensive or it can be capital intensive, right? whatever is cheap we will use that labor, that particular mode of production. Importance of means of production. So do you know what is GDP? Gross domestic product. But what is it? No, percentage nahi. GDP means what? Gross domestic product. But what it is, suppose if a nation produces 1 lakh units, it is a less amount, but if we assume 10 lakh or 20 lakh units, it is a less amount, a nation will produce more, but for an example, just assume if it produces 20 lakh units, total, everything, every good, everything, including that, every type of good. So the value, adding up the value of all the goods, the nation, total value of the goods or services produced by the nation is the gross domestic product. So, value means what? If I sell this pen for 100 rupees, if I sell this 10 pens for 100 rupees, value becomes 1000. The value of this pen is 1000. Now if again you sell some service, you give some consultancy and you charge again 10,000 rupees. So now in the same nation, India, so this 1000 plus 10,000, again if you sell some other product, give some other service, adding up all that services, value of the goods or services together which are produced, or in case of goods it are produced and in case of services they are provided. Adding up all these values will give us the gross domestic product. Okay. So Kunal, you are clear on what is gross domestic product? Now we will see. What you are saying, importance of means of production. See, all these means of production, that is land, labor, capital or organization, are very important. Without these means of production, will we be able to convert raw material into finished goods? No. It becomes, if we have any one of them is missing or we don't have any one of them, it will become difficult for us to convert raw material into finished goods, right? Yes. So, the means of production is an idea that includes the social use and the ownership of land, labor and capital needed to produce goods, services and the logistical distribution. By the time of early industrial society, the means of production included what? It also includes machinery, tools, right? Office equipments, whatever we have, these are also means of production. What main means of production are land, labor, capital in organization, but we can also include machinery, tools, the computers which are available in the office or other desks which are available. These are also our means of production. So it is not a narrow term, it is a broader term. It includes other aspects also like machinery, tools, the computers or other desktop, other desks, whatever we have in our organization which are supporting the land, labor and main means of production, right? It also includes office, computers and other technology. The factors of production are defined as the resources that are the building blocks of the economy. They are what people use to produce goods and services. So what happens if we improve the efficiency of factors of production? See, previously that we had 10 laborers. They were producing 1000 units. Now what we did, we provided some training, skilled training, specialized training to them. Now with the same amount of time that they were using previously, now they are producing 2000 units. Previously they were producing 1000 units in a specific time. Let's say what they were working 8 hours, 9 hours a day. Now they are working the same time, the same duration, the same amount of machinery, same raw material. They are producing 2000 units. Why? We gave them some skilled training quickly. Whatever skilled training we provided them. Now their efficiency improved. What will happen? Ultimately, if any one of the factors of production's efficiency improves, the output will increase. our organization's productivity will also increase, right? Other, see, if we took an example of what? Labor. Now we will see machinery. So previously we had some old technology machinery. Now what we did, we improved it, we invested some, we repaired it out, we did some things, and now its efficiency improved. Previously that machinery was producing 1000 units in the same amount of time, with the same labor, with the same raw material. Now we made an improvement in it. We purchased some new machinery alongside with it. Now it produces 2000 units. What is happening? If any of the factor of production like labor or machinery is improving its efficiency, ultimately the output is increasing, right? Yes, Kunal, the output is increasing. There is an increase in the output, in the productivity of the organization, right? So if again what will happen, the GDP will increase. If 1000 units, now again number of units increase, what will happen? It will ultimately lead to increase in the GDP, right? That it is seen. If the business houses improve the efficiency of the factors of production, it stands to the reason that they can create more goods at a higher quality and perhaps a lower price. An increase in production leads to economic growth as measured by the gross domestic product. Improved economic growth, what will happen? If the more units are produced, what will happen? If I was producing 1000 units, my means of factors of production's efficiency improved. I improved my one of the means of factor of production, that is land, labor, capital, machinery, tools, anything. And due to that improvement, the output increased. Output increase means what? Economic efficiency or productivity of that organization increased. That organization increased, ultimately the nation's also productivity increased, because 1 month, if see, the output is increasing by 1000, again yearly it will increase, and in years also it will again increase for that organization, right? So in turn the economic growth of the nation will be more. Economic growth is more means what? Standard of living of the people will increase. Why it will increase? The organization is producing more output, so more profit it will get. So more profit, it will pay more salary to the laborers. Laborers get more salary, their standard of living will increase. So ultimately there is an economic growth of the nation. So what we can conclude is that if we improve any one of the or all the factors of means of production, or any one of the factor of means of production, that is land, labor, capital, organization, machinery, tools, ultimately what is happening? The output is increasing. The output is increasing, so there is an economic growth. Economic growth is there, so the GDP of the nation is increasing. GDP of the nation is increasing, so the standard of living of the people is increasing. So everyone is benefiting, right? So what to do? Mostly we should try to improve the efficiency of our factors of production or means of production, right, Kunal? Now we will go to forms of market. Drink some water. Screen already on, I guess. No, see, Kunal, now we will be discussing the different types of market. Different types of market means what? MCQs we will take later. MCQs सगळेच घ्यायला लागतील मग घ्यायला घेतलं तर. घेऊयात आपण काय करूयात आधी पोर्शन कन्सेप्ट क्लिअर करूयात. शेवटी MCQचं पण एक सेशन्स घेऊयात. चालेल? कारण ते भरपूर असतील. ट्राय कर ना घरी गेल्यावर सॉल्व कर. त्यातलं काही कळत नसेल तो इफ यू हॅव एनी डाउट्स, इफ यू हॅव एनी प्रॉब्लेम्स इन दॅट, आय विल श्युअरली हेल्प यू विथ दॅट. बट वी विल टेक देम ॲट द लास्ट वेन वी कंप्लीट द पोर्शन. So what we are saying is that there are different forms of market. What previously we saw, there were perfectly competitive market and two types of markets, what? Imperfect market, right? So what is happening in a perfectly competitive market? What happens? All the goods are homogeneous. Homogeneous means similar. There is no much difference in them. So when the goods are homogeneous, similar, or there is no much difference in the goods, and other thing is what? The price of these goods remains constant. Why? Because they are similar. If there is no other feature in the another good, no other quality, more quality than the other good, why will that price be high? No, they are similar. There is very less difference between them. So the price is also constant in a perfectly competitive market. And what other types of market we have? Monopoly, monopolistic competition, oligopoly and duopoly. So we will discuss this. Before that we will see some basic terms what we need to know before going into this forms of market. So what in practical life, Kunal, will there be perfectly competitive market? Is it feasible to have a perfectly competitive market where every good will be similar or homogeneous and the price of the good will be constant? Is it ideal or feasible or in a practical scenario perfectly competitive market? Mostly what happens, we have different type of goods with different features, different quality, right? In most of the markets what we have? Different types of goods with different features, with different quality. So it is very impractical to have goods where they are homogeneous, similar, or there is no change in them and the price is constant everywhere, right? It is not practical to have a perfectly competitive market. See, in this module we are concerned with the pricing policy under different forms of market. Under perfect competition, each firm takes the market price as given and adjusts the level of output in order to maximize profit. But perfect competition hardly exists in reality, right? Is it logical, Kunal? That perfectly competitive market is not feasible or hardly exists in reality? What do you think? What we discussed now? Perfectly competitive market. Is it ideal scenario practically? Is perfectly competitive market there? No, right? In practical scenario. Why? Because every good can't be homogeneous. Will there be that every good is homogeneous, all the goods are similar, there is no change in the quality, there is no change in the features? Will that happen? All the phones that are there in the market are same. There is no change in the features, there is no change in the quality of that. Is it possible? No, because every product will have its own features, own quality, own things, right? That's why, and the price, will it be constant everywhere? No. So it is not feasible or practical to have a perfectly competitive market. So what forms of market are practical in real world scenario? Monopoly, monopolistic competition, oligopoly and duopoly. We will see what are these types of markets now. Now we will discuss what is the rate of return and the cost of capital. What is rate of return? Do you have any idea about it, Kunal? See, if I invest 1 lakh rupees, I am getting 10% rate of return. What is the amount that I invested and the return that I am getting is the rate of return. And what is cost of capital? If I borrow a loan, if I take a loan of 10 lakh rupees and I have to pay 7% interest on that loan, is that my cost of capital? The amount cost that I need to pay so that I get that capital is the cost of capital. And return, what is return? Rate of return. The return that I get after investing that amount is the rate of return. Clear? So rate of return we will get on an investment. On cost of capital is what? Cost to us when we borrow the capital. So ideally an organization should what have? Should get more rate of return. Rate of return should be more than the cost of capital. See, I am an organization. I take 10 lakh rupees loan at 7% and I invest it in that, I invested in getting the machinery, and after that I get a profit out of that investment which is 10% and I am borrowing the capital at 7%. So what is my rate of return? The cost of capital will be what? I am borrowing capital. So that is my cost. I have to pay the interest. So that is what? My cost of capital. So 7% will be cost of capital. And rate of return is when I take that capital, I invest it and I get a return of 10%. That is my rate of return. So my 10% should be more than 7%. Here I am having 10% rate of return, 7% cost of capital. So it is good. I should not pay more cost of capital than my return. Kunal, are you clear? What is cost of capital? No, don't tell me the figure. What is the concept of cost of capital? If I borrow a loan as an organization or as an individual, the cost that I have to pay to borrow that loan is my cost of capital. Logically, as an individual, if you borrow a loan of 10 lakh rupees and you pay 7% interest, 7% is your cost to get that 10 lakh rupees. To get that 10 lakh capital, 7% is your cost. So that 7% interest is your cost to borrow that capital. So that is cost of capital. Clear, Kunal? And what is return on investment? After getting that capital, I invest that amount in machinery or somewhere else in rather than in shares or SIP. If I get 10% whatever interest from that, or 10% increase in my SIP or whatever investment that I am making, that is my rate of return. So I should get more return and my cost should be less, right? Kunal, my cost should be less than my return, right? So they are saying the rate of return should be more than the cost of capital for any organization. Or as an individual also, before the rate of return should be more for you than the cost of capital, right? This we will discuss further, only penetration, prices and all that it is given further. Now we will discuss pricing of products and services in various forms of market. So what we studied? Perfectly competitive market, imperfect competitive market. Perfectly competitive market is not practical or feasible because all the products cannot be similar, homogeneous, and their price can't be constant. So if perfectly competitive market is not feasible, what is feasible or practical in an ideal scenario? Imperfect market. So in an imperfect market, we have monopoly, duopoly, monopolistic competition and oligopoly. So we will further discuss what are these terms, what happens in these forms of market. Now we will first discuss what are the pricing strategies. So how a firm determines its pricing strategy? See, if I am a new player in the market, I am a new entry, I have just started a business, will my price be low or high for a product? Low, because I don't have that goodwill. My product is not much known to the people in the market. So initially what I have to do, I have to keep the price low until people get to know about my product. They make mouth publicity like this product is good, it is quality, it is a quality product available at a reasonable price. So after that mouth publicity or after that publicity in the market, when I gain a market share, what I will do? And now I have a large customer base. Now will I keep the price low, Kunal? Will after at the start, as I was a new businessman, my product was not known to the people. So what I did, at the start I kept the price of the product low. Now what happened? People came to know about my product. They made mouth publicity like the product is good in quality, available at a reasonable price. Now I gained customers and now I got a market share. Now after that, will I keep the price low? No, after that I will increase the price of the product to a certain range, right? So these are the various pricing strategies that the firms take into consideration. So now we will discuss these different pricing strategies. Cost plus pricing. What is cost plus pricing? The cost. See, if I require produce this pen, my cost of production is 100 rupees per pen, per unit. So what I will do? 100 plus my profit, whatever it is, 20 rupees. That will give me the price of the pen, that is 120 rupees. Cost plus pricing. On that cost, I will keep a specific profit margin. Like, see, if the price 100, 10% profit I want to get per unit. I want a 10% profit. 100's 10%, 10. 100 cost of production plus 10 rupees profit. I got the price of the pen or the product is 110. So that is cost plus pricing. Cost plus pricing is the simplest pricing method. The firm calculates the cost of producing the product. See what it will do, cost of production, and add a percentage of profit to that price to get the selling price. Simple, Kunal. Cost of production plus the profit margin that we want on that cost of production, we will get the selling price of that product. Now what is limit pricing? See, if I am 2-3 firms are producing a certain product. If I keep the price of my product, there are 3-4 persons who are producing this pen in the market, same pen. And what happens? If I keep the price of this pen very high, instead of 110, I keep it 200 rupees, very high. So what will happen? Instead of purchasing this pen from me, what they will do? They will go and purchase that pen from the other 3 people. So what will happen? In turn, I will be a loser. So if any more than 3rd person wants to enter in the market, what he will do? To do that, what he will keep his price low. Only he will not try at the start. What he will do, if he wants to enter the market, he will just try to recover the cost. He will not think of profit also, so that he can gain the market share, the market mouth publicity in the market. So to avoid this, so that the 3rd person should not enter the market, we are only the influencers of the market, any 3rd competitor should not come into the market. What I do is limit the price only to the cost of production. Only the cost which I am incurring to get this pen, bring this pen into the market, I will only recover that much cost. I will not think of profit. So that is known as limit pricing. A limit price is the price set by a monopolist to discourage economic entry into the market. So that, see, I am afraid anyone is going to enter the market and take up my market share. That time what will I do is that I will keep my price of the product only equal to the cost of producing that product. not more than. So what will happen? Even if a third person enters the market, he tries to get some 5% profit, he will not get that share in the market. People will purchase my product only, right? The limit price is often lower than the average cost of production, of just low enough to make entering not profitable. So what he will do is, he will not try to get profit, he will just try to recover the cost of production or less than the cost of production. So penetration price. So if I am a new business person, I am just started a business, my product is new in the market, what we discussed, there is no goodwill, people don't know about my brand, people don't know about my product. What I will do at the start, I will keep my price low. And once people get to know that the product is good, the price is reasonable, it is a quality product, they will do mouth publicity, I will get goodwill, I will get market share, I will get a customer base now. After that, I will increase the price of the product. That is known as penetration price. So to penetrate, to come into the market, you have to follow this strategy. Penetration price. Setting the price low in order to attract customers and gain market share. The price will be raised later once this market share is gained, right? Price discrimination. So Kunal, have you been to a doctor? If a doctor, what he does? If he wants to do a big operation and there are two people, one person is very rich and one person is very low, will he charge the same amount for a poor person and a very rich person? So what a doctor or a monopolist does is that he deals with price discrimination. He knows a rich person can afford more. So what he will do? He knows. So for that operation, for a rich person, he will charge 10 lakh rupees. And for a poor person who is not able to afford that operation, he will just charge the normal price 1 lakh rupees. So that is known as price discrimination. And in monopoly, like who are monopolist? Doctors, right? They have their own. Even if we are ill, we have to go to the doctor, we have to pay the price. Is there any other substitute for it? No. So they are the monopolists in the market. So in case of this monopoly market, what happens? There is price discrimination. Price discrimination will happen when there are different forms of people, like very poor people, middle class people and rich people. So these various segments of people in the market, he will charge different prices for these different types of people. That is known as price discrimination. Setting a different price for the same product in different segments of the market. What are different segments? Like very poor people, middle class and rich people. These are the different segments. For example, this can be for different classes such as ages or different opening times. Okay? Psychological pricing. What is psychological pricing? See, I am going to buy this, I'm going to buy a kurti in DMart, and the price of that kurti is rupees 499. So what do you think? What a normal consumer or a person purchasing that kurti will think? Wow, this kurti is less than 500 rupees, right? My range is only 500. I can't go above 500, and it is, even though it is only 1 rupee less than 500 rupees, the normal tendency of a consumer or purchaser becomes what? It is less than 500. Even though it is only 1 rupee less than 500, right? So that tendency helps them to sell their products. That is the psychological pricing. Pricing designed to have a positive psychological impact. For example, selling a profit at rupees 3.95 or 3.99 rather than 4. What do you think? If it is 499, what do you think? It is less than 500, less than my limit, my budget. I'll take it. So even though it is only 1 rupee, we know. But that creates a psychological impact on the consumer behavior. So they are saying what? Price leadership. The name only suggests price leadership. See, the organization who is the leader in the market, he will be determining the price, and the other organizations in the market will follow him. So if Tata Motors is one of the leader in the automobile industry, if Tata Motors sets to decide the price with mostly with the same features of the car which Tech Mahindra and other organizations are in the automobile industry are producing, with mostly 98 to 99% the features are same, the quality is same, the price of that car as 8 lakh rupees, what other competitors will do, they will follow him. They will also set their price of that car with the same features, same quality, approximately around 8 lakh rupees. That is that they mean to say. An observation made of oligopolist business behavior in which one company, usually the dominant competitor, dominance means he has more share, his products are well known in the market, they are able to sell most of their products, like consumer buy most of their products, they have a goodwill or brand in the market. That is a dominant player. Leads the way in determining prices and the others go on following. So what price that dominant player will decide for that product, the other competitors or the other organizations in the same industry will approximately keep the price that much, right? What is target price? Now we were discussing, see, I made an investment of 10 lakh rupees, I got a return of 10% on it, Kunal. Right, so target pricing is what? If I invest a capital of 10 lakh rupees, my target is to get 10% return on that capital. So 10 lakhs, 10% is how much, Kunal? Reduce 10%. 1 lakh. And if I am producing 1 lakh, so if I am producing 10,000 units divided by 10,000 units, 1 lakh divided by 10,000 units. So per unit 10 rupees. So my target is per unit I should get 10 rupees. It is a return, not the price, selling price. Why we will not fix it at the selling price? Because we are calculating the return on the investment, right? Return is what? Profit or any income. Return is what? Profit here. So I should get return of 10 rupees or a profit of 10 rupees per unit. So what I will do? Cost of production 100. Again, what is my return I got for per unit? 10. I will add it up. 110 will be my price. Clear on this? Target pricing. Pricing method whereby the selling price of the product is calculated to produce a particular return on investment. See, if I invested 10 lakh rupees, I want return of 10%. So what I will do? 10 lakhs, 10% is 1 lakh. I produce 1000 units, I will divide it by 1000 units. So per unit how much return I should get? 10 rupees. So that is my profit. So I will add that profit in the cost of production. If my cost of production is 100, I will add 100 plus 10. So my selling price will be 110 in target pricing, right? To produce a particular rate of return on investment for a specific volume of production, the target pricing method is more often used by public utilities like electric and gas companies whose capital investment is high. So organizations where the capital investment or industries where the capital investment is high, they use target pricing. On that invested capital, they take a particular rate of return, which is the target rate of return, calculate the return divided by the number of units, you will get the return per unit. You add it up to the cost of production, you will get the selling price of the good, right? Absorption pricing. Absorption Absorption means what? You are absorbing the cost. So in an absorption pricing, what we mostly do, we try to absorb or recover both the fixed cost as well as the variable cost. In most scenarios, what we undertake, we don't try to recover the fixed cost, but we try to recover the variable cost. But in absorption pricing, we try to recover both the fixed cost plus the variable cost per unit. See, if my variable cost of producing this pen is 8 rupees, this will be included, and fixed cost, how we will calculate, Kunal? If the total fixed cost is 1 lakh rupees and I am producing 1000 units, how will I get the fixed cost per unit? 1 lakh divided by 1000 units, which is, we will take 10,000 units because it is becoming a high figure. 1 lakh divided by 10,000 units. So the fixed cost is 10 per unit. So we'll add up. Variable cost 8, fixed cost 10, total cost 18. So absorption costing, what it will say, we will recover both the fixed and the variable cost. 8 we should also recover the variable cost and fixed cost, that is 10 rupees. So 18 rupees we need to recover. So we will calculate for fixed cost, the total fixed cost divided by the number of units, we will get the fixed cost per unit. So we will try to recover the variable cost as well as the fixed cost per unit in absorption pricing. Absorption pricing. Method of pricing in which all cost, or means which type of cost? Both fixed and variable. See, it is written here, fixed as well as variable are recovered. The price of the product includes the variable cost of each item plus a proportionate amount of fixed cost. How we calculated proportionate amount of fixed cost? Total fixed cost divided by the number of units produced. We will get the proportionate fixed cost for 1 unit produced, right? Is a form of cost plus price. High-low price. So what can be an example of high-low pricing? First we keep the price high and then we reduce the price. See, I am a I have a cloth shop. If I keep that cloth in my normal shop for selling, I sell it for 2000 rupees, a particular kurti pajama you want to buy, and you went there and you saw that when you went into the shop, the price of that kurti pajama was 2000 rupees. If you were going to purchase it from the shop, you said, no, that is not my budget, I'll not buy it. So you leave the shop and you don't purchase that kurti or pajama. Now after what happens? After 7-8 months, they put that kurti pajama in a seasonal what we say? What they do? Seasonal out. They want to remove that good sale. They put that kurti pajama in a seasonal sale outside. Now that kurti pajama is available at 1000 rupees, right? To clear the inventory. What happens? If that kurti pajama does not get purchased, what will happen? For 6 to 8 months or 1 year, they will clear that inventory. What to clear? Now they again want to purchase more in their shop, right? Kunal, are you getting? In a sale, what they will do? They will put that kurti pajama again in a sale, like summer sale or winter sale. And if in that case, what will that price be, high or low in that sale of that kurti pajama? So sari also, what they do, if we go in a normal shop to purchase a sari in the shop, not in that sale where they keep that keep the goods or the clothes. If we go in the normal shop to purchase that sari, it will cost 2000 rupees. But if that sari doesn't get sale for 1 year, they want to clear that inventory of that sari because they want to purchase more, right? So what they will do, they will put a sale outside the shop. Outside the shop, they will put a seasonal sale or before Diwali, right? 2-3 months before Diwali. What they will do, they will sell that sari same at 1000 rupees at a discount. That is known as high-low pricing. Clear? First, the price of the good is high, but if the good does not get sold, to clear out that inventory, they reduce the price of the good. They sell it in a sale, right? High-low price. Method of pricing for an organization where the goods or services offered by the organization are regularly priced at higher than competitors. At the start, the price is high, but later they reduce that price to low. Marginal cost pricing. So what is marginal cost? Change in the cost, right? Change in the cost. Margin means the change or the addition in the cost due to the change in the quantity. So if we increase the quantity by 1 unit, if the change or the addition in the cost is 20, we will use marginal costing, or that marginal cost again we will add up in the price of the product to get the selling price. That is what they are saying. In business, the practice of setting the price of a product equal to the extra cost of producing an extra unit of output. You are clear up till now with the different pricing strategies? Hello, on Teams, anyone has any doubt with the pricing strategies? कौन है joined? Sheila? Hello Sheila. Are you clear with the? You are clear, right? Okay, we'll move forward. Meaning of market. So what is a market? Where there are buyers and sellers, and the buyers are willing to purchase. The buyer also has the purchasing power, right? Without purchasing power, is it a demand? What we studied previously. If the purchasing power means what? Money, income, right? If the buyer does not have the purchasing power, that is the money, income or wealth to purchase that product, it is not a demand in the market, right? So in a market there are buyers, there are sellers, there are various goods and services in which the buyers are willing to purchase that goods or services. They have the purchasing power, that is the income, wealth or money to purchase them, and that market forces, that is the buyers and the sellers, will determine the price, right? If there are less buyers and more sellers, the price will be low, right? Right, Kunal? And if there are more sellers, more buyers, less sellers, the price will be high. So this form of market or the market ultimately helps in determining the price of goods or services. Meaning of market. Market is a means. Means what? A way. Where buyers or sellers are willing to buy. With that, buyers have that purchasing power, by which exchange of goods and services takes place as a result of buyers and sellers being in contact with one another. What happens in the market? There is exchange of goods and services. I purchase a particular commodity, I pay for that commodity. So there is exchange of goods and services in market. So classification of market. There can be local markets, national market, international market. This is very basic, right? Local market means what? If I am in Pune, I am staying here and nearby there is a vegetable market. It is a local market, national market or international market, Kunal? Local. In my locality, I have this one type of market where I can buy vegetables. So that is a local market, right? But I am a producer and I supply my goods all over India. I produce this pen and I distribute it all over India to the buyers who want to buy all over India. So that is a national market. And again, if I am a producer of this pen and I am supplying my commodity all in other countries outside India, like any other country like Bangladesh, Nepal or other countries where people want to purchase this commodity, that means I am supplying my commodity in international market, right, Kunal? Yes. Classification of market. On the basis of various concepts, markets can be classified into various types. There are three types of markets: local markets, national markets, and international market. Local market. Sometimes a particular commodity is exchanged in the locality where it is produced. Means what? I am producing it in Pune and I am selling it also in Pune, then I am selling my product in the local market. Where it is produced, there only it is sold nearby. So that is a local market. Then the commodity is said to have a local market. Vegetables, flowers, foods can be produced and marketed in the same area. Why? Because they are perishable goods. Like, why vegetables, flowers and foods are mostly in the local market sold? Because they are perishable, right? If I want to transport them away in the national or international market, it takes a lot of time, they will perish away, right? Right, Kunal? So mostly what happens, vegetable, flowers and fruits are sold in the local market because they are perishable. National market. A commodity will have national market if it is demanded and supplied by people in different parts of the country. Commodities like wheat, sugar, cotton have national market, right? Because what happens in Maharashtra, certain type of cereals which are not produced in Rajasthan. See, in Rajasthan there is less water. So will there be other sugarcane and these crops like cotton will be produced there? No. So, and what will happen? They will purchase this and Maharashtra will provide them to Rajasthan. So, in the national market where there is less availability or certain goods cannot be produced, then we exchange them with different states and in the same nation. So, that is known as national market. Commodities like wheat, sugar, cotton have national market. International market. If the commodity is sold and purchased in different countries, it is said to have international market. Gold, silver have international market. On the basis of time element, very short period market and long period market. Now, what we were studying, what are the two main different types of market what we saw where the average impact on the average revenue and the marginal revenue, Kunal? Previously, in terms of revenue, we saw where the average revenue is equal to the marginal revenue in perfectly competitive market. And what happens in imperfect market, average revenue and marginal revenue go on falling as the output increases, price decreases, right? And in all the markets, average revenue is equal to the price, right? So what previously we saw, two main forms of markets are perfectly competitive market and imperfectly competitive market. So these are the two main types. We will take a break, 2-3 minutes. Now then we will move to perfect competition. What is perfectly competitive market? Its features and other things, what type of profits we get in this type of markets. We will take a break. Up till now it is clear, no, Kunal? Any doubt? Doubt? No, no?
लेक्चर संपलं का? बॅग घेऊन गेले का? बॅग घेऊन गेले?
Finished. आता काय करायचं? कुठले? आ? अरे आता काय करायचं? आता कसं करायचं? स्क्रीन फिनिश केलं त्याने. बहुतेक. आता काय करायचं, त्यालाच एडिट करावं लागेल ना आपल्याला एडिटरमध्ये. कंटिन्यू करायला काही ऑप्शन नाही का? याला हात लावला होता का तू? तू हात लावला होता तू? आता काय करायचं, त्याला एडिट कसं करतात मला नाही माहीत. ट्रिम अँड कट. आता काय करायचं, ॲनालिटिक्स. 9 मिनिटाचाच झाला हा. परत नवीन घे बनवू का व्हिडिओ आता? कारण त्यांनी स्ट्रीम केलं आहे, काय करता येईल त्याला. गो लाईव्ह करून परत करावं लागेल. सेम पार्ट 2 लिहिता येईल, हेच लिहायचं टॉपिक आणि पार्ट 2 करू आपण. कारण एन स्ट्रीम झालं आहे ते एडिट व्हिडिओ. नवीन घेते मी परत, एंड स्ट्रीम केलं आहे ना आता. पार्ट 2 घेते ब्रेक नंतर. मला वाटलं कम्प्लीट संपलं असेल मग. पार्ट 2 आफ्टर ब्रेक टाकते. परत स्ट्रीम नाही करता येत आता, काय करायचं. कमी घ्यायला लागेल आपल्याला एंड स्ट्रीम केलं म्हटल्यावर. काय करणार त्याला, काय करता येऊ शकतं, आयडिया काही? चलो विल स्टार्ट. काय करता येईल आपल्याला आता, काय करतो एडिट केलं जातं. Hello, Sheila, am I audible? Hello. Okay. Hi, yes. So we will now move on to what two forms of market what we studied were perfect competition and imperfect competition. Now we will study what is perfect competition. So what we discussed, Sheila, in perfect competition, can you tell me one or two features of perfect competition which we discussed in the last lectures? Hello, Sheila, can you please unmute yourself? Yes, so what we discussed about perfect competition in the last lecture, one or two features, can you tell me? Or I should help you out with it? Okay, no. See, what we discussed previously about perfect competition was that all the products in perfect competition are homogeneous. There is no difference in the products. All the products are similar. There is no change in the quality, in the features. So every product has the same feature, the same quality. So the price of the product is same, constant. These two things we had discussed previously in perfectly competitive market, right, Shela?
Yes, ma'am.
And but this is not practical. In an ideal scenario, all the phones which are being sold in the market will not have the same feature, the same quality, right? One phone will have a different feature than the other. Its quality will be different, right? The raw material used but for producing that phone as a finished product will be of a different quality, right? And the features also will be different. So the price of all the phones in the market cannot be the same, right? So perfect competition is not practical or feasible, right? See, the same thing they are saying here. Hello, Shaila, you have some doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So, in a perfectly competitive market, there are numerous buyers and sellers selling homogeneous product. Homogeneous means the products are similar, there is no change, they have the same quality, the same features. And no one is able by his own actions to influence the market price. What they mean here is that the price of the product will be determined by the buyers or sellers. Means what? If the buyers are more, sellers are less, price will be, what will happen Kunal to the price? Buyers are more, sellers are less, price will be high, right? And if the sellers are more, buyers are less, price will be low. So who is able, buyers and sellers are determining the price in the market. So here also the same thing, the buyers and sellers determine the price in the market. But in other scenario, if there is a very large buyer, very large seller, there are only two sellers in the market and one seller has a dominant position, like he has a good goodwill in the market, his products are only sold for for this pen, there are only two sellers, suppose, and if one seller is a seller whose products or goodwill is lot in the market, products are also sold, so what will happen? He will dominate the market, he will decide he is producing also the pen on a large scale. So only he will mostly decide what will be the price of the pen. And the other seller of this pen who has a very low goodwill, very low scale of production, very less pens are sold in the market, very low goodwill. So he will not be able to determine the price. But what happens in a perfectly competitive market, the buyers and sellers or the market forces determine the price. A single seller cannot determine the price in a perfectly competitive market. Clear, Kunal? Shela, clear? Hello? Okay.
Hello?
Yes, we'll move further. Since all have access to full and immediate knowledge of the price at which the trading is currently taking place. See, the buyers and the sellers in the perfectly competitive market have the knowledge about the product. They know what is about knowledge of the market. If we want to buy a certain, what we call, you want to buy some grocery and you know the price of oil in DMart is per liter 120 of what we can say mustard oil. But if you go in a local market, the price there is 130 per liter. So you have the knowledge of the market. Outside the price is 130, and if I go in DMart and I see the price is 120 per liter, you have the knowledge. In our locality, the price is around 130 per liter of mustard oil. But in DMart it is 120. So the price is low. I will purchase that oil from mustard oil from DMart. That is known as the knowledge of the market. You know that what is the price of the same quality product, same feature product of in your locality. That is known as the knowledge of the market. So in a perfectly competitive market, both the buyers and the sellers have the knowledge of the prices of the products, as well as the quality, the same quality, what is the price of the same quality, same feature product in the locality. Definition: the more nearly perfect market is a stronger tendency for same price to be paid for the same thing in all parts of the market. So what they are saying is that in a perfectly competitive market, the price of this pen is same, not just in the locality also, but away from the market. Everywhere the price of this pen is same. Features of perfect market: large number of buyers and sellers. What we discussed at the start, in perfectly competitive market, there are large number of buyers and large number of sellers. So one single seller cannot dominate or influence the market and determine the price of the product. So the price will be determined by the demand and supply forces in the market. Why? Because there are large number of buyers and sellers. And will the seller determine the price, or he will take the price which the demand and supply forces of the market determine? Will he determine the price? No. So he is not the price determiner. What determines the price is the demand and supply forces in the market. And there is no one single seller who has dominance to determine the price, as there are large number of sellers in the market. There are large number of sellers and buyers for goods in the market. It means the output of the buyer or seller is a small part of the total output. Like total output, every seller will be contributing a small portion because there are many sellers in the market. If a single seller contributes to a large proportion of the total output, what will happen? He will determine the price, right? Right? If I am producing, the output is 10,000 units, and out of that 10,000 units, people are taking 9,000 units from me only. Who will determine the price? One single seller who is dominant will determine the price, right? But when there are large number of sellers, the seller's output is a small proportion of the total output, right? So they will not be able to determine the price. The demand and supply forces will help in determining the price, right? A single producer or seller cannot change the price by his actions. None of them is large enough to influence the price. Therefore, a seller takes the price decided by the market. The producer is the price taker. The seller or the producer in a perfectly competitive market is a price taker. He is not the price decider. He will not decide the price. The market forces will decide the price, and what price the market demand supply forces determine, he will take that price and he will sell his goods at that price, right? Now, homogeneous company. What we saw previously also in perfectly competitive market, like all the goods are homogeneous. Homogeneous means what? They are similar. The quality, the features of both the goods are same. So they are homogeneous, similar. So what happens if the quality features are same, they are similar, they are homogeneous, their price is constant. Why the price is same? Because the goods are homogeneous. If one good has a better quality than the other, better feature than the other, will its price be, both the price will be same? No, right? Because one has better quality, better features than the other, its price will be more, and the other good which has less features, less quality, its price will be low. But is it that in a perfectly competitive market? No. All the goods are homogeneous means similar. Means what? The quality is same, the features are same. So same price. Clear? Homogeneous commodities. Products in this market are similar in every aspect. A consumer gets the same good whenever he purchases, As a result, there will be one price all over the market. Now they are saying free entry and exit. What does this mean? Free entry and exit means what? If there are 4 producers or sellers in the market, any one new seller or producer can come in the market easily, try to sell his products, and if he does not get that required profit, he incurs losses, he will exit the market. He can easily enter the market and easily exit the market in a perfect competition. See, any firm can enter into the production as per its desire. Finally, it can leave the production at any time. This helps new firms to enter into business when conditions are favorable. As long as a firm earns supernormal profits, it usually stays in competition. But when the firm ends up with losses, it would leave the market. Mobility of factors of production. What are factors of production, Kunal? Land, labor, capital and organization. These are the factors of production. So what happens in a perfectly competitive market, factors of production can easily move from one firm to another. If the labor, because the price of the commodity is same. If Tata Motors car's price is 8 lakh rupees, Mahindra's car price is also 8 lakh rupees in a perfectly competitive market. So if with that same, the amount of profit, mostly per unit profit is same for Tata Motors and Mahindra. Per unit profit I am saying, not the total profit, right? Per unit profit is same mostly, so the profit margin is same. So if the labor, previously what Tata Motors was paying more wages to their laborers compared to Mahindra. So what the laborers do? They were working at Tata Motors. So now what happened? Mahindra started giving more salary than Tata Motors employees. So what will happen? Laborers will move from one production to another production, one organization to another. So the factors of production can easily move from one to another in a perfectly competitive. So the laborers working there, what they will do? They will join Mahindra. Because why? They are getting more salary there. What they are thinking? We are producing the same commodity. We are working for the same time. We will move on there. So that is mobility of factors of production. And in a perfectly competitive market, they can move from one to another. Why? Because the price is same. Right? Mobility of factors of production. Factors of production will move from one production to another easily. This is also useful for free entry and exit of firm factors. Land, labor, capital move to the production activities where they get higher income, right? Similarly, what we discussed for labor, if they get higher income or higher salary at Mahindra, they will move to Mahindra in a perfectly competitive market, right? Absence of transport costs. So, Kunal, if I have this pen, hello, Shaila, you have any doubt? Hello? Am I audible, Sheila? हॅलो आता ऐकू नाही आलं का मी काय जे डिस्कस केलं ते मग समजलं नाही परत रिपीट करू का रिपीट नाही बरं ठीक आहे आवाजाचं बघते मी एक मिनिट आता क्लिअर येतोय आवाज तुला हॅलो हां बरं ठीक आहे हां मग चालेल पुढे जाऊयात मला काय वाटलं की तुला आवाज आला नाही क्लिअरली कळालं नाही असं वाटलं मला आय थॉट दॅट टू okay so what happens if there is transportation cost included? Will the price be same even if the cost of production is say suppose 100 rupees? If there is transportation cost included, will the price be same for the commodity everywhere in the market? No. Why? See, I am producing this pen here in Pimpri. To transport is to sell this pen to Pune or to Mumbai, to Mumbai. The transportation cost will be more than Pune or less, Kunal, to Mumbai, huh? More. And in Pune, the transportation cost to send this pen to a buyer in Pune, the transportation cost will be less than the Mumbai one, right? So, if स्ट्रीमिंग ना एंड स्ट्रीम झालं होतं
एंड स्ट्रीम का
ह्याला एडिट
ओबीएस वगैरह आहे का? एंड स्ट्रीम काय करतो
मी गेले होते आणि आल्यावर ते एंड स्ट्रीम झालेलं होतं मी बाहेर आता गेले होते त्या ब्रेकमध्ये
मॅम 9 मिनिटं झाली तुमचं रेकॉर्ड
Oh God.
आत्ता बाहेर नाही 1 तासापासून बनते 1.5 तास
अरे बापरे
तुम्ही या घरी आपण बोलू
ठीक आहे चालेल कुणी एंड स्ट्रीम केलं ते मी आल्यावर बघितलं होतं एंड स्ट्रीम झालं होतं कुणी आलं होतं का इथे पण त्याच्या आधी तर होत होतं ना त्याच्या आधी होत होतं का ठीक आहे कंटिन्यू करूयात आपण जाऊदच नाहीतरी इश्यू आला असेल झाला असेल तर So the transportation costs are cost of production. If we add the transportation cost in the cost of production, will the price of the product be same of Mumbai and Pune? Right. So the price will change. But what happens in a perfectly competitive market? The price of the product remains the So in a perfectly competitive market, we don't add the transportation cost to the cost of right. So they are saying absence of transportation cost. Under perfect market, transport cost should be added in the price. If the transport costs are added, goods are available at fewer prices at nearer markets. Nearer markets, what we discussed an example, in Pune the price will be low as compared to Mumbai because Pune is closer than Mumbai, right? And they are available at higher prices at distant markets. Existing of two prices for the same thing in different parts is against the perfect market. So transport cost should not be added. So what they are saying, in a perfectly competitive market, if we add the transport cost in the cost of production, the price of the product will not remain constant, right? So the price of the product is not constant, so we are not adding transportation cost. Why? In the fewer markets, if Pune is closer, the transportation cost will be less for Pune, and for Mumbai the transportation cost will be high. So if we add the transportation cost, the price of the product will not be same, right? Perfect knowledge of market. So what we discussed previously in perfectly competitive market, the buyers and sellers in the market have the perfect or clear knowledge about the market scenario, the price of the product to the, see what is knowledge about the market. If I am buying a mustard oil of 1 liter of the same quality, I am getting it at 120 rupees. So approximately the price in the in market of mustard oil is 120 per liter, right? So that is the knowledge of the market. And if I go somewhere else and see that the price is low, in that case what will happen? I will purchase it because in the normal market the price is 120. So that is the knowledge of the market. perfect knowledge of market. Buyers and sellers in this market will have clear knowledge about market conditions so that there will be one price throughout the market. Because of perfect knowledge, sales and purchases of commodities take place at one price. We will end it up here. YouTube is also not streaming. 5:30 also there. Hello, Sheila, are you clear up till now? Hello? Okay. Okay, Sheila, we'll end it up today. Okay? We will end it up today. Is it fine?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay, sure. Okay, sure. Bye.